Ronnie, I hate to see you coming. Good luck, Hina. You have some time. There's a few updates coming up in the next season that make Veronica slightly less good, but she's still pretty decent for the most part. Oh wait, you found Veronica. Oh nice. Even better. Wait, Keen, I'm gonna jail you for 3 minutes. Hopefully it won't be too long. I know Range says that's only like a 15-second jail, but we'll see if it's still that short. Oh, I forgot to open up Calcio Nightmare before I start stream. Might be a hot minute before it pops up. Yeah, Veronica to Rin. I mean, Veronica is just really strong in Chaos, so she'll feel good no matter who you play with her. Like, literally, Veronica feels bad with no one. She is very good. And even outside of Chaos, like, her main problem is that she doesn't buff damage that much, but she is still really, really good for other things. I focus on writing for at least a little bit before. I don't know if anyone's gonna chat actively today, but yeah. Debating using Ray instead of Mika though, AP might be a problem. In Chaos itself, your main problem will be living without Mika. Your Ray's max ego. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I know people like using Ray because she's quote unquote harder to make work. But I always use Veronica Mika because I'm lazy and I know it's pretty straightforward. Up to you though. Ray does. I think Ray technically enables faster runs, but she's still pretty RNG from my experience. So I like Mika still over her just for stability. Yeah, she has some healing and like she has heal cards, but as you might have noticed, it's not that reliable. Like when you get knocked down or when you have like a sanity break happen or some other shenanigans are afoot, she can't like burst heal you back like Mika can. That's my problem with her. Like you have one bad turn where you draw too many. Like let's say that you have a turn where you're full HP, but you draw your all of your heal cards, and then the mob hits you really hard, and then you mind break. Like Ray's not saving you, but Mika could in that scenario. So that's why I don't like Ray over Mika and for generic farming. Like most people use Ray because it was like an ego thing. It wasn't like an actual like objectively correct decision. It was just like people thought she'd be better. You use Naruto too, but Rin's too heavy. That's so funny. Yeah, Rin. Yeah, Rin does that. A lot of DPS have that issue where like they aren't good outside or they aren't like strong out of the box. Obviously Veronica is, but some other characters are not. You get Kairon main at the jump if you could. Hope you pull him soon. I'm surprised you got Veronica so quickly because you didn't own her before, right? But you managed to pull her like pretty quick. You got Hugo and Veronica in the same 10 pull? That's a crazy support pull. A massive 10x. You might select K-Ron if you don't get him within the 300. Makes sense. That was a good plan. Hugo is pretty good. They're already working on nerfing this, but like Mika Tressa Hugo is like one of the OG Giga OP comps. Like Hugo is similar to Veronica, where he is really good out of the gate in Chaos, but he needs slightly more particular builds or comps. They're changing a lot in season 2 though, so everything I'm saying now is like potentially gonna be outdated by the time it's yeah. That reminds me, I was gonna say something stupid. I was gonna doodle like a really crappy thumbnail for fun. Whatever, I'll do it later. I don't really have thumbnail ideas for streams. Maybe I should turn on my webcam for this stuff. Would it be like even an enhancement to the stream though? To like have like my webcam or Fugi on here? Probably not. I feel like whenever I put the webcam on, it like introduces like some pressure to not work or like do some facial expressions and stuff. I guess maybe I should be doing the model at the bare minimum then. Makes sense. Let me see if I can set this up to webcam, my YouTuber model. I don't feel like setting up my phone right now. Although it probably won't register that well, now that I think about it. Oh well. Might as well mess around. I haven't used my VTuber model since September 2025. I've not opened VTube Studio since September 2025. That's crazy. That must have been my last time streaming or not Kelsey Nightmare. That must have been my last time streaming Shadowverse 2. Funny. Ow, my eyes. Video.
카오스 제로 나이트메어.
Oh, is it on? It is on. Wow, it is. This thing's not saying anything. What the heck? Hey, Range Hog. I'm trying to see if I can set up my VTuber model right now, but it's not pretty. I think it's because it has to look at me. I don't know. What's wrong with the tracking? What's going on? I have not done this thing in so long. What is wrong with my wow wow wow? Ah, this is why you this is why you I should have used my phone. I can't figure it out. What is going on? The mouth movements look so unnatural. Hmm. VTuber? Yeah, actually though. Wait, I just noticed. Wait, I've never seen this before. I just noticed that I when I frown really hard, there's a glitch in my rigging. Wait, I've never seen this. Wait, this is bothering me so much. I mean, you can't really see it. Wait, I never noticed that this was a problem when I was rigging it. Wow, this is like a 7-year-old issue. I love this frog. Yeah, I put that on follow. I didn't realize at some point that Twitch gave me better whatchamacallits for that. Twitch gave me better it gave me better setups for my emotes. Can we also hear the music? Wait, you're right, it's not going through. Wait, what happened? Why isn't the music going through? Wait, what bugged? Why is it not going through? Oh god, I have to remember how to fix this. Okay, I don't know what I did, but I'm assuming that works. Does any of a normal Twitch stream offer your plane? I don't know what. Sometimes the thing just bugs out, and I have no idea why it bugs out. Like Twitch will just throw a fit, and I'll never know what the reasoning behind it is. Alright, let me try using my iPad. Although I don't think my iPad's gonna. Excuse me. My iPad's gonna be very happy. This iPad like has no battery life at all. Like my old iPad, not my newer one. See if it downloads properly. It does. My old. You mean how old? Let's see. I bought this like when I was on my old apartment. It's a fifth gen iPad. I actually don't know how old fifth gen is, but yeah, it's a fifth generation iPad. I don't even use it for much anymore. It was originally like my writing tablet, but then I bought a new one like 2 years ago. 5 years old and functions the same. This one's a lot older than 5 years. I bought this used like over 5 years ago, I think. Has he set up like this? God, is this gonna be fine? How am I? Whatever, I'll figure it out. Face tracking is not supported. This iPad is so old that it doesn't work because it doesn't have face tracking. Old. Yeah, actually though. Well, I guess that's a no to the VTuber model. I can't even see my mouth properly. I don't even know why. Because I can't see the setting on my PC. Like if I was on my phone, I can always tell, but I don't know why my mouth is like unhappy. I think I'm not facing straight at it, but it's also not very sensitive. It's probably just because the mic is too low quality. All right, I give up on VTube Studio. What was this for? Oh my god. When I used to play Duels of Eden, I had a drunk stream or drinking stream. And so I had that redeemed for like Duels players. So every time I lost, I'd take a shot of soju. As you might imagine, I got very drunk that day. Got very drunk that day. That was the last time I did a drinking stream. This time I saved more of my dailies for stream. Classic Duels of Eden player, actually though. Pretty accurate. Pretty accurate accusation. A not so boring way. Does season have AFK content? Sadly, no. If it did, you'd probably see it more, or you'd probably see it the entire time during these streams, but since it does not, I do not. Also, let me solve this light. Ugh. I shined a shot in my face because I wanted to see if it would work, which it obviously did not. Hey Yankee, you don't know why Policy Off is such a fun daily, but you love it? Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like such a low effort slash like irrelevant daily for the most part, but something about it's so entertaining. Wait, we lost the 2x potentials? Oh, I guess it is Wednesday. No! I have to play the long form of dailies now. Whatever. Oh god, my HDD, with every update this game makes, my HDD struggles a little more to like start everything up. Oh well, it is what it is. Just a black screen. I guess I could put the Fugi up, just for the sake of having something. Where is the Fugi? Bum, ba, 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 da, ba. Where's my ass going? Why is the game FPS dying? Because since I'm on HDD, it forces like being on HDD means that has to load everything manually, right? So it's struggling because like it's loading on the assets for the first time. It'll smooth out after a while. Like it shouldn't explode after this first initial opening for this particular quest. It does feel like it's AFK content, yeah, because it's like daily. I mean, yeah, dailies in every game is AFK content. I think. Like unless you're playing like Genshin or ZZZ or something. You have it on a smaller screen. True. It's because you don't see the cursor like always. Oh, that's really funny. You don't see it flying around. I mean, no, it's literally on autoplay, but I guess it's because of the cursor. It looks like everything's being automated. I mean, which it is, but the cursor usually signifies my involvement in something, I guess. Also, Yonki, I think now that you mentioned it, I do think the policy office should be a bit more involved. Like, I should be getting like way more little decisions. Like, I don't know how they've balanced that or fixed that or make that like less slop gameplay, but like, I want to do more policy stuff. I don't know why it's entertaining, but it is just entertaining. It'd be cool. Calamity's in parts of the city might affect the units at like those places. I think they're trying to give that like impression or like that like vibe off. As of lately, they've been like changing it so like the flavor text is more like involved. And so I thought when I first saw that they were doing what you were saying, that like it was actually hitting the city, but it's just flavor text. Like nothing's actually happening, which was kind of disappointing, but makes sense. This is reference the title, but there is like some like gotcha creator drama going on. Which obviously I have an opinion on, but like just looking at it, it's like so ridiculous. What like these people are talking about. And to be fair, like if I was a content creator that did gotcha games or like was well known for gotcha games, odds are I'd probably be like head first or like face deep in the drama that's going on. But it's always funnier being the spectator of it. Cause these are like Wuwa content creators I think a lot of people know about, like Genazad, Mr. Poke, Saint Tontis, or whatever his name is. Not Saint One apparently, but yeah. Like no surprise, the Enfield drama or Enfield releasing caused a stir in all the related communities because of content creators like potentially looking to try and get a new bag in the new game. Also, I probably should have covered the patch notes today, but Smilegate actually released some pretty solid changes. Song quest. Also, kind of done with the song. The song's a little too yeah, the music is too chill. Oh, 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 sexy vampire. I my YouTube was maxed out volume, by the way, so I would have blasted everyone's eardrums. What is like 198 BPM? No, maybe a little faster. Let me pull up a metronome. Metronome. Wait, I should do it this way. It's not a perfect fix, but you can at least see it. Oh, this thing says it's only 170 BPM. That's also unexpected, actually. Or 180-ish. Yeah, about 175. Wow, I was 15 BPM off. That's a lot. This art style looks really familiar. Seems loaded in 180. Yeah, it's 175. At most 175. Probably more like 170. I can really tell. I had it clocked at what, like 15% faster? That's so much faster. Hard to guess. Yeah, I also haven't been like super involved in music in a while, so I don't really know anymore. You already have issues if it's higher than 140. Gotta do more research. Bum 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 bum. Claim. Bait, 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 bait. Yeah, the that gotcha content creator drama is like it's like somewhat humorous to me just because it was this guy named Saint Tontus, like basically from what I understand, the current state of Enfield, I don't know how much you guys know about Enfield or care about Enfield, but Enfield's like the spiritual successor to the original Arc Knights. I don't even know what the company's called, but they have this like gotcha system that isn't quite the same as like, or no, it is the same, but it's confusing a lot of people because it's a mixture of existing gacha systems instead of just being like one system, if that makes sense. So like, give me a second. Let me just take my iPad out. This my CZN deal is almost done anyways, so it's always more fun to do this iPad setup, regardless. Should I just hide the side too? Yuki on screen. Oh. Well, Egyptian. Yuki's now gone. Can't perceive information if you don't draw. Yeah. Is she still dog water bad? She's a little worse now. Well, not because she's like worse, but because Yuki's main worth was like what's the best way to term this? So like there's high level content. Rift, yeah. So there's high level content, and then there's Rift. So high level, actually, let's call high level. Let's call high level like tower and basin like nebula, like these things. Log in to draw literal uwu. Yeah, pretty much. Then we have dailies. Okay, actually, yeah, let's take basin out. So just tower. Go for phase one. Phase one piss easy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agreed. I'm also closing CZN because I just finished my last daily there. Yeah, so you have these three levels of content, right? So high level and nebula, this is like tanky mobs, but killable. This one's like niche characters are giga buffed, and this one's like kill ASAP. So like Yuki in this is like SSS tier in my opinion, because Yuki she is universal because she's AoE, which means that you don't need to swap teams. So like before, so pre-patch, this is really nice because you used to have a wave system, but now obviously there's no wave system. So that's why Yuki like goes down to like maybe like an A plus tier for dailies. But then like in everything else, like Yuki is bad in this and in high level content, like in order. But like in off weakness content, she's probably just bad. Pull Yuki Shell forever, summon your 8 Nias. Dear God. You love drawing cards so much. Yeah, I mean, Yuki will be good, like, just like, generally speaking, like, if we ignore all this. Whoopsies. If content is like, if it's AoE, if it's order, and if there's like multi-hit requirements, then Yuki will be good. And there are high chances that this is like gonna be a thing. But the issue is that like since it's gonna be new content, like they're gonna like not, or she'll be like an acceptable side grade, but they're gonna power creep her somehow. There we go. There's the doodle for the Yuki thing. So that's how I see it. So like, if she's good and like the HP threshold for Yuki is like sub, like maybe like around like 7k HP. So if the units are around 7k HP and you're playing her with Veronica with giant ballista or like a single target ballista, and then Yuki will like kill everything super easily. But the moment they go above 7k HP, Yuki either needs a modifier or she's just not good enough. And the main thing is that like when it comes down to this game, like the reason why it's fine for her to be like this is because in Rift, like Rift is specifically like one banner unit, unless they fuck up, right? Like with first Great Rift, Rift will always be one banner unit, and then like plus two supports. And supports are like very limited, right? Like supports are like Nia, Cassius, Selena, right? So like this already means that like Rift is like super meaningless for comparing characters because the only good characters for Rift will always be like the new ones. And then there's another aspect where like with Tower, like Tower's gonna be challenge content, and that means that Yuki will be like good for like certain parts. Like she'll be like niche good. And then Nebula is like worthless content. Stuff like that. Impossible running C. Let me not accidentally ban Range Hog this time. Let's not misclick that. But yeah. I think she is, like, genuinely speaking, I think Yuki is fine as a character. She has her place. Her play is, like, got nerfed, or it got nerfed for better the game, which obviously I think is fine, but, like, in the end, like, ironically, I think Yuki will scale better than Haru and Chizuru will overall. Because Chizuru is going to be like Chizuru already competes with Rin, and I think Rin has a higher peak than Chizuru to begin with. And also Rin isn't nerfed by other characters existing. Like Rin stays under the 7 hit. Rin doesn't have to generate excess cards. Rin also has her own card draw technically, so she has some more consistency at the cost of like some damage. Where Chizuru, like she gets a bit wrecked by card generation tactics, and she gets wrecked by the upper hit cap due to Shadow Moon Plus needing it. So, and then Haru is obviously just like not good, right? So why is it showing that? Hmm. Game capture. I get a feeling it's because it's game capture or not. What's going on? Why is Extra not cooperating? Okay, that was weird. Okay, what is this? What is this music? I didn't change it after the thing. Kawaii Future Base. Great. That's what Range Hog's YouTube Nation leads to. Incredible. Kawaii Future Base mix. That's crazy work. Bum, bum, bum. I think that's probably the problem I have. Oh, not really a problem. Like the odd reality of CZN is that the way that characters will rotate is that like they're gonna be based on like what the game will care about more is, or I guess what's the best way to put this? Like the thing with the thing with CZN is like there's a problem where unless it's like off season like this one, if there's a Great Rift going on, then you're always gonna be farming for the Great Rift unit or the banner units. And you obviously don't have to chase the Great Rift unit, right? Like you can chase for Nebula and other stuff, which is totally fine. It's obviously totally fine. You can like have your own fun, like bullying the Nebula bosses and probably tower at some point. And that means that like every unit you pull will have some sort of value because in the long run, these units represent more game time and more ideas to explore with new seasons. So like in the far future, assuming that like we're playing CZN for that long and we manage to pull every single banner unit, like they're releasing one unit every 3 weeks, right? So in a year, we're gonna have, assuming there's like at least like two 4 stars, we're gonna have 15 characters plus the original like 18-person roster or something. So we're gonna have like nearly 30 characters to like hash out and like build out every season if we really wanted to, which is cool. This is extra, Madoka extra, but like so like there's like two sides to CZN where like it will have a lot of content. If you get up on Shadowba, the new expansion is fun. Kind of. I really wanted to play for free Rin, but the issue is that Shadowverse requires like a lot of effort to play. Not really like. I think dailies don't require that much effort. Like it's just me being lazy. I should have been able to play dailies and stuff. But I think the issue for me is that I think Shadowverse is always gonna be a temporary game. And the problem with like these card games is that if there's not a deck I really enjoy playing, I don't feel the urge to play or do dailies. And set four had a meta I really disliked, and so I didn't play set four. And then free run came out, and I'm like, oh, I can't even get free run. Not available in the shit country. Oh yeah, when I was in Europe, I couldn't. I had to get a VPN to play Exdra, because the Dutch, I think, I think Belgium and Netherlands banned Exadra for or banned gacha games entirely for anti-gambling laws. That was a funny that was a funny time. I think they fully banned Uma Musume, so I like lost my Uma Musume stuff, but Extra still made it through somehow. Yeah, I think Shadowverse is really fun to play, but it's just like too much effort. I wanted to Came and Gambit on Twitch in the Netherlands. It's so funny. Freerun event is a scam, unfortunately. I mean, only wanted to pull for Freerun herself, like the leader unit, because she's attached to Forest, right? Like the issue, I think, with eh, I mean, it would have been fun. I think Shadowverse will always be the game that like in the moment, like when I really wish, like what's the best word of this? There'll be times where I really wish I kept up with it, right? Like every like 2 weeks, like I quit set four like maybe like a week into it releasing, right? So that was maybe like 3 months ago. I think 3 months ago. So for the past 3 months, like every 2 weeks, I'd be like, I wish I kept up with Shadowverse, but then like I'll forget about it. I'll forget about that thought like 30 minutes afterwards, and because I'm able to forget it so easily, and I don't feel like actual like persistent regret, I don't mind the fact that I quit, but I do think it's a game that that part of me wishes I had the willpower or the discipline to just do dailies every day. You wish you lived in Belgium. Belgium looks really nice. Belgium is I visited a few times because my family lives in the Netherlands. I'm not I don't know why I feel the need to what's the word justify this, but I'm not I'm not European, or like my family's European. We're all Asian slash Chinese. But I have some my relatives lived in the Netherlands. Like they went to the Netherlands for some reason. When my family all left China, so I went there like twice, 3 times in my life, which is really nice. The problem is Playbase is toxic and obsessed with monetization. Definitely possible free to play, make one or two decks you like and mean through the dailies and events. Oh yeah, I know. Don't worry, I made the videos for it. I'm aware that the game is super free to play friendly. Like Shadowverse is like I'll like hop in. Like it's again like this is all my fault by the way. Like this is literally all my fault, right? Like dailies for Shadowverse take you 15 minutes tops with your own alt. I know this because I literally sustained it for all of like set 3 and set 2. You literally, I had like my phone and my iPad. I opened Shadowverse on both. I walked to a player table. I play like you play one match and that's good enough for like 90% of dailies because you don't need to do park chests. Like park chests are really relevant in Shadowverse, right? Unless you want to hit the 100 pack meme. So like by doing just that, or no, I mean the daily quest. I mean daily quests are pretty important, but if you do just the one game with yourself and park dailies, you gain like 40% of the potential currency. So if you play 3 games with yourself and park dailies, you gain like 95% of all possible income you can get in Shadowverse. And free to play currency in Shadowverse is actually really really high. I think overall, I think you're down like 20% of possible currency by not doing ladder and weekend tournament and other stuff. So like 15 minutes a day, like that's not hard to do. Like the daily, like the free to play status for Shadowverse is honestly really nice. But my issue with it, with the game, is just that it doesn't give me like for me personally, I don't feel the urge to play or to keep up. Because to me, Shadowverse is a game that I either play because I'm really invested, I'm really addicted in it, or addicted to it, or I don't play at all. So that's why I don't play. Yeah, Nero's server has a lot of fun. I mean, Nero's a lot of fun too. Maybe Wizards will add Beavis and Butthead to Magic the Gathering. They'll finally quit that game. I heard a lot of people were close because of the like Avengers slash like Fortnite vibe they have going on with MTG. Like my friend told me a story about how one of his like Magic friends got really upset over SpongeBob, which on one hand I get, but on the other hand is like a little ridiculous. Getting mad about SpongeBob of all things. Least toxic franchise. Yeah, like I said, like occasionally I'll have regrets over Shadowverse because it's just like it's not hard. It's not even that hard to maintain, but I just don't. Because also like I had a decent like YouTube thing going on with Shadowverse as well. Like getting 1,000 views per video for like a channel like mine is really really good. But and I think if I kept going, like I probably would have stabilized at like 800-ish viewers average, or maybe even like still 1,000 for consistency's sake. But in the end, like I'm doing YouTube and streaming for like purely hobby reasons, so I had the feeling that if I had forced myself to keep playing Shadowverse, I would have done my usual thing of just like disappearing for like 4 months, 5 months, and then joining a different game. So I just moved on to a different game that I found more fun. Because I tried to like cover Wuwa in the past, and I did pretty poorly when I covered that. When I swapped off from Maternal Return, because I didn't really know how to cover gachas. And then, and to be clear, I still don't know how to cover gachas. Like my CZN content is in the dumpster compared to what my Shadowverse stuff is. But again, because it's a hobby, it feels better to just like do what I like, as opposed to doing what's better for the channel. That's how you found his channel. Got started with CZN. Your go-to Shadowverse streamer was too money for your taste. Yeah, I think to be fair, like I was also a massive complainer back in season 2, but I think the issue with card games for me is that like I'm only not a whiner when the deck I like is good. So like in season 3, what did I even like? I don't think I liked anything in season 3. I think I still played Roach for the first like third, and I started playing like random meta decks for like I started playing like I crafted Egg Portal for like 1 day of streaming. But I think in the end, like with Shadowverse, I found a way to cope with it. Like I did find a way to like not bitch as much as I usually did with card games and games in general. But it just wasn't the type of decks I like in card games, which is why I ended up stopping fully. But I know like there were like a lot of card game players will like complain. Like I definitely called out some streamers on Twitch about it, which will always be a mixed bag when you ego Twitch streamers and content creators. To be clear, but okay, not to be clear. To be fair, like the same thing happened in CZN. Like I've told the story a few times already, but there was like one EU streamer that flamed me pretty hard. Like he was like not necessarily like a comfort streamer, but he was someone I watched somewhat consistently, like during the day before Suchi went online. And then he would always complain about um he constantly complained about how Zero or Lab Zero was worse than Zero System because the devs intentionally nerfed Lab Zero's epiphany rates in battles compared to Zero System. And I told him like, hey, I think you're just misremembering. And then he like, and then like there's an entire like hour long argument where he like called me like, I think I said he called me delusional. He called me like crazy. And I used the term sanity check at one point, and I didn't realize that sanity check wasn't a term that was commonly used until that day. But because I used the word sanity check, that guy chose, like, he ended up, that's when he started calling me delusional and, like, crazy because I used the word sanity check, and he took that as, like, an invitation to, it's like, double down on that idea. And I haven't watched him since because that was, like, such a bad experience for me, streaming wise. It was like that type of whining that also exists in CZN. And that's the type of whining that I try to not do because, again, of that particular season experience, it felt very, like, awful to experience. And also, CZN has not treated me that bad either. And also, CZN itself is, like, not even that bad of an RG game. I think it's really tilting, like, when I grind stuff like Orlia, or when I grinded characters like Orlia and Chizuru for, like, a specific, or for, like, a particular Divine Epiphany build. But then after those two experiences, like that week of going into Orly and going to Chizuru, I realized that it's just not worth it to grind a Divine Epiphany based build because it is so burnout inducing and draining. Crashing out Gacha's crazy. Irony of going CCN is not lost on me. Trauma code, yeah, pretty much. It wasn't even like I don't even think it was like a true crash out. It was just like me challenging him. Like I literally asked the guy, like, "Hey, do you have proof, by the way? Like, do you have VODs? Do you have examples? Do you have deck codes? Like, do you have anything to prove that Zero System and Lab Zero had objective differences outside of Zero System just having outright better events?" Because like I told him I agree with you that like Lab Zero is objectively worse, but it's objectively worse because the event quality is worse, not because of combat. But he like the streamer was the one like tripling down on the combat being worse, right? So he got the reason why he got so mad at me was because I was like asking for proof, and the reason why I asked for a sanity check was because at one point I thought he said if you look at my previous streams, like he told like he said I didn't stream I wasn't streaming before season one. So obviously he didn't have Zero System runs because if he didn't stream, if you didn't stream, then you didn't have like the VODs up. But at some point, I thought he had said, "Yeah, if you look at my previous runs, if you watch my previous runs, you'll see the proof of like the evidence of my point." And so that's why I said, "Oh, I need to do a standing check and blah blah." That's when it all went downhill. But yeah, like the guy had no proof for me. Like I told him, like I was like, "Hey, yo, like I went into my old preseason one decks, and I have like decks that I saved where I'm missing epiphanies because I didn't get enough epiphanies. And judging like off of what you're saying, I should have these epiphanies if these rates were quote unquote better or nerfed since Zero System." And then the guy still blew me off and all that. And also like the game is known for having a lot of misinformation to begin with. I mean, even in the content creator Discord, like literally just yesterday, people were saying that Lab Zero was nerfed for like no reason. And then like someone like me and some other guy were like, "Do you like have evidence for this? Like, are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, I have evidence. Look at this deck that of where I didn't proc anything." And it was like it was like yo like you just hella low rolled like just because you hit one super bad deck doesn't mean that the entire thing is cooked. You probably could have hit that on a different thing too. I mean, even myself, like when I was trying to make those, when I was trying to get Kefox the other day, I was also ending plenty of runs with zero things, like with not enough epiphanies and other things, like in zero systems. So I don't know. It's just obviously like bad memory or selective memory for like some bias that you want to uphold, which again I'm also very prone to doing. But it's just that's just one of the things that's just like wow, like we're really like speaking of like community and all that. It's just like a thing. It's just like oh, okay, yeah, we just say anything to like make a point. Cause yeah, obviously that also extends to like Enfield as well, where I talked about this a lot yesterday, but it's just like Enfield's gotcha system. Actually, did I talk about this yesterday on stream? But Enfield's like banner system is really confusing, not because it's actually confusing, but because people are intentionally making it sound worse than it is. If that makes sense. So the reason why my title is like joking about becoming a drama streamer is because let me just swap up extra draw. Let me pull up the paint thing again. I should probably have two different. Yeah, let me make two different tabs for this. All right. So, if y'all know nothing about the way Arknight's Enfield is doing their gotcha system, basically they have there's a flowchart that exists, but the flowchart's really horrifically designed, and I think is the reason why a lot of people are confused. But basically, an Arknight's Enfield, let's just do this in terms of like 10 pulls, right? So like, and this is let me just so there are actually two systems that exist in Arknight Enfield. There's the generic 50/50, and then there's the GBF Spark system. So most people are familiar with the 50/50 system. This is the Hoyo copy, the Hoyo and Wuwa clone. Wuwa. Except the issue is that there is no guarantee. There's no um guarantee on here on loss. So like the 50/50 is it's like it's just a pure 50/50 every time, right? So every 80 pulls you're guaranteed the 50/50. And then there's also soft pity at 60 pulls. And so GBF Spark, if you guys don't know what GBF Spark is, this is the system in Grand Blue Fantasy. This is the system in Exedra. There's probably a lot of other games that I have not looked at in a while that have the system. Oh yeah, my bad. Uma Musume also has this system because it's obviously also a side games game. Like side games in general will use the Spark system. So in this system, there's no such thing as saving banner value, if that makes sense. So in this 50/50 system, the way that impatient players will work this is that they'll intentionally lose a 50/50, and then they gain the guaranteed limited, and then this carries over to the next banner, right? So essentially, like this system, this 50-50 system is better for like for extreme casuals and impatient players. Technically, by the way, because usually the issue with 50-50 is that their base rates are horrific compared to the GPF Spark. Now the problem is that with Enfield, it's because they're splitting it. This means that you get both the horrible rates of 50-50 along with the I guess like long like the saving needed for GBF Spark. So I guess that's actually the worst part about the GBF or the Enfield thing, which to be clear, no one is talking about. So it's like very disingenuous by most people. But yeah, so in GBF Spark, you don't save value. Everything you use, so like you get tokens, right? And these tokens disappear at the end of the banner. And the pity proc is at 120, right? So if you're treating the system the way it's supposed to be, the way that Enfield Gacha works is that at 120 pulls, you get the character no matter what, right? That should be the baseline. This is the baseline. But if you're being disingenuous about the game, and this is what a lot of this is what people like a lot of bad faith arguers are doing with Enfield. They're saying that this is actually like you should not be considering this. Like they ignore this. They say that the fact that you lose the 50-50 here, like they say the fact that you don't get this is bad. And they say the fact that you lose this is also bad. Which are fair points, right? Like if you want to be disingenuous, then this is like a really good way to like be fake about how the system works. Because you lose this, and you also lose these, and then therefore Enfield is bad. And this is the stance that people like Saint Tontis, or again, don't really know his name. Saint Tontis and like other people that say that the game is bad. This is their endpoint. That the Enfield Gacha is predatory because you lose the 50-50 guarantee. You lose your pity progress. The 121. And then this one's valid. Apparently you need to pull character banner for weapons. Which I'm not convinced is true yet, but we'll see. So this is the y'all know the like meme face where it's like some dude just like he's like, this is bad by the way. That sort of thing. But again, I think this is really disingenuous. Like in my opinion, this is both disingenuous and bad faith. Because and this is why it bothers me that like a quote unquote gotcha veteran is making these claims. Because to me, the way you look at Enfield Gotcha is that first of all, you always pull to 120. Because at 120, you get the guaranteed SSR. You get the guaranteed banner unit. And then along the way, you get bonus rewards. The bonus rewards are like one guaranteed SSR, which might be a dupe. You get 10 generic pulls, and then you get 10 next banner pulls. Right. So this is how I see the gotcha. That if you always go for 120, you also get these along with it, which I guess to be fair, like in a standard Spark system, this is kind of like mid because again, in standard Sparks, your rates are usually around like 3% for an SSR, right? Maybe like 2% if they're ungenerous, maybe 5%. So it is worse than the it is worse than standard sparks, but standard sparks are also significantly higher than 120. Standard sparks are like the second dupe you can get, which is at 240. So that's why like again like as a low spender, free to play or anything like the Enfield gotcha is literally just the better gotcha. The only way it's worse is if the currency itself is worse, which is like at that point, no matter what, like no matter what system they chose, it'd be bad, right? So like people keep using this justification of oh oh like Enfield sucks if right? Like this is obviously an objectively true statement where if your income is bad in a gotcha game, then the gotcha will be then like it's a bad gotcha game. But the issue is that this would be universally true. So to me, like it's a cop out to say and judge the gotcha based to hold judgment on the gotcha until we see the income. Because if the income sucks, then it doesn't matter how good the system is. If the income sucks, it just sucks. Like a gotcha game could have like guaranteed like if it could be a guarantee at 50 pulls, and then people would be like, "Wow, great!" And then the income for free to play could be like 10 pulls a month, and now suddenly this sucks, right? So it's obviously it's all within context, but and feels being a modern gotcha game, like we already know how like all gotchas like monetize or give income. Like thinking this would ever happen is insane. So if we had gotten this in any real gotcha game, like if this happened in a modern gotcha, then we like everyone would be praising this. Like at frame one. Like this entire like but income aspect wouldn't even be considered because no one's gonna think that a modern gotcha company is gonna be that insane. So a bunch of grown men all argue about that thing. I don't get it. I think the worst part about gotcha creators bickering is that like they are unironically all grown men in this day and age. Like this Saint Tonsis guy, look, he's at least my age, which is like late 20s. He might even be mid 30s. And this guy's like bickering with another like early or like mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s guy about what like whether or not or whose content is more geared towards children based on the presence of memes. Like that's an insane topic to talk about. And I was joking in a community Discord I'm in about how like Saint Tontis even making these like even having a reaction stream just proves how boring Wuwa is. And this guy would rather artificially generate insane drama content to yap and make drama commentary over actually playing the game. And to be fair, like I'm doing that with CZN right now, but CZN's stan slash simp community is like not even half a percentage of Wuwa's, I guess like standing slash support community. Because I feel like with Wuwa, if you trash talk Wuwa anywhere, you'll get at least like three people saying that you're a gotcha tourist, you're a Genshin player, you don't know what you're saying. Like that will never happen with CZN unless CZN pops off. But with Wuwa, you can't go anywhere. You can't criticize Wuwa without having someone clap back. So that's why it's crazy to me that like like this Wuwa streamers like doing all this drama stuff and not playing their own game. No shame in having dead periods in gachas, by the way. Also, sorry to YouTube for not having music playing. I don't know how much that affects you all's viewer experience. Also, tell me if this gum chewing is annoying, because I don't know if the mic's sensitive enough to pick this up. And all that. Ugh. I'm just hoping that the keyboard clacking is good enough while not doing my iPad doodling. He's assaulted enough, can't hear gun, chilling at work, name's okay. Sounds good. Oh, I need to write a note to myself that I have a job interview on Thursday. I can finally. I'm trying to graduate from being the king of unemployment soon. I've been unemployed for too long. I've gotten like so many job interviews with no results. And this job I'm interviewing for has like a really decent work-life balance program going on, so I really hope I can get it because if I manage to get that job, I could probably do like co-working streams, like this one during work hours. Just full me and all that. We'll see though. There's hope. I feel like hybrid work is so nice for. I mean, in general, like even if you work a lot, if you don't work that much, hybrid I feel like is always the best way to handle work schedules because working from home is always so much more productive and chill. Got an interview, a lot of interviews out there, but no one makes an offer. Yeah, yeah, I went through that like end of last year. I got like two final round interviews, like October and November, and didn't get the offer back because they took someone else, which obviously sucked because I'd love to be employed by now. Or the goal was to hope to be employed by the end of the year, which is kind of like a really fast track from when I started looking. Hybrids give you self discipline, can't focus at home, so you prefer to go to office to keep you focused. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Um, I think hybrid is probably better for work for me because at least going off like my last job and like how I know my workload goes, what ends up happening a lot is that like I'll have periods of very hard work. We'll have to lock it in focus. But there's also many days where I get like three things. I only need to do like three things a day. In which case, like being remote is way better because being bored at the office for me like heavily accelerates burnout. Whereas being bored at home during work hours is like the reverse of burnout because obviously when you're at home, like I guess the best way to put it is that like the problem with like last job, the job I quit was that I was always at office, but I was always bored, and I had nothing to do for like 5 months straight, and so I burned out from being bored for 5 months straight. And I think if I had hybrid for those 5 months, I've never gotten close to burning out. Because I would have been able to do like hobbies. I would have been able to like do anything like get my groceries, like do like cooking, clean my room, do all this stuff during work hours, which would have been like mentally and emotionally much more productive and I like sanity saving versus having to go to the office, like waking up earlier, knowing I'm going to the office, knowing that I'm doing nothing, and then knowing that I'm going home late, dealing with like subway traffic, knowing that like I'm already tired from having to be social the entire day because I was being in the office with nothing to do. Versus like if I was at home, I could relax. I would have to burn all that social energy. I could have like done my laundry, like picked up some trash, reorganized some furniture, like that sort of thing during the day instead. So that's why I probably really prefer hybrid. I was also thinking the other day how like it's probably really like I'm not dating. I don't have a partner, and obviously like it's like weird. I don't know if it's like accurate at all to say, but I feel like that's probably the scenario where like having a partner would be nice because the sanity save in that aspect would be like maybe my partner's like maybe we both work at the office 5 days out of the week, but like at least that way we could set up like a chore schedule. So like Monday I would do my chore, I would do the chores, and then Tuesday they do the chores, and so instead of having to like be the only person responsible for chores, you could like split it up, and that'd make it like more easy to set that schedule. If that makes sense. Obviously, it's obviously an excuse because even without a partner, you should just be doing that stuff. But I think it's more like I don't think copable is the right word. I guess the prospect of doing those things is more enticing or more tolerable. There we go. It's more tolerable if you have someone else. And obviously, if you have a partner, like being hybrid is even better if you're both hybrid, just because you spend more time with them. If you're able to, or if that's like a relationship that is healthy enough, or would want the more sustained presence. Because I know some relationships prefer like more time split apart just for like cause, just because like that's how the person operates. Nothing against like their sociability or whatever. Head to the restroom real quick. BRB. Do do do. Oy. Okay, I'm not. This playlist is kind of boring. What else I got? Go this one. Alright, those are my extra dailies. Put my iPad back on for, what else I got? Probably some iPad dailies. This silly, Dragon Traveler thing. Oh, I'm still stuck on this. The TT music randomly jump scared the stream. Do you have 20 gachas open? No, I do not actually, surprisingly. I've been opening and closing them. Like I opened CZN, then closed it for Exedra, then I closed them both. Or I closed Exedra for my iPad. And then my iPad will close for some other gacha at some point. Wow, my DPS is trash. What the fuck? It looks like TFT. It is pretty close to TFT. It's like an auto battler. TFT is probably a very accurate way of looking at it, honestly. There's a way more efficient way to play this game than how I'm playing it right now, but the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because this way I can extend the autoplay content for the AFK stream. TFT is an auto battle? Oh, yeah. I mean, that is just another auto battler game. It's more auto battler gotcha slop. This game has been accused of being like an AI game, which might be true. It's like all the designs are very generic. I think maybe the designs are generic and some other things might have been AI connected, but the 3D models are like really high quality, so it's hard to say if it's actually AI or if it was just like one of those. Because ironically, with like these old gotcha games or these like slop gotcha games, like AFK Arena is the same. There's so many gotcha games that are just like slop that existed before AI did. So it's probably the case for this one where like real people put in time and drew everything, and it's only generic because or people only call it AI slop because now instead of things just being generic or like copy paste, we use AI as a substitute term now. Backgrounds could be AI. Yeah, I think the odds are that real people made this. Like maybe AI designed or like maybe AI was a reference and research, but I think AI is just too much of like a generic term people can use now for like cookie cutter slash copy paste esque games, which is maybe potentially like not a good vibe for people who actually put the effort in. But I suppose it's the unfortunate reality now. Might be for the best though. Portrait tracers in shambles. Yeah. I wonder if there's like an actual like discussion on whether portrait tracers like I think people treat AI artists with the same venom as portrait tracers, but like should it have been that AI is below portrait tracers? So should we actually be treating AI artists worse than we originally treated these tracers? Because people already didn't really respect these tracers that much to begin with. So can we go lower? We kind of should, yeah. I guess it's hard going lower because I think in the art community, portrait tracers were already the bottom. So you have to find a new bottom, like break through the floor and all that. I just remember that I said I wanted to cover chat because they always say unhinged shit in this chat. I kind of forgot to. Whatever. Oh god, what have I done? Where's the cat go? Gotta focus less on the process and more on the result. AI is here to stay. We who were here we who are here for a transition are gonna cry about the change, and next time we'll say it's natural. Yeah, it's an entire discussion because I think like me, Range and another chatter talked about this yesterday. I don't agree with my one type. Me, Range and a different chatter were talking yesterday about how a lot of the things that AI affects, so like writing, art, like summarizations. There's another thing that someone had brought up, but these like these creative processes are obviously like corporations need them, and corporations will always just need a product. But these are things that are for like for people like me, for people like Raintrock, for like most Twitch chatters and streamers, it is more of a hobby than it is a product. Now, obviously, with now obviously like again like obviously AI is here to stay, unfortunately, because corporations are more powerful and they do control all of this like this and that. But the reason why I think the claim that we should focus less on the process more on the result, to me that's more of like a corporation focused statement, because again to me like as someone who's more focused on the hobby aspect, as someone who's more focused on the human aspect, to me it's more important to focus on the result, on the process, and not the result, and less on the result. Because for me the main way I justify AI usage is by having it cut out the, or rather having it aid the reference, the research, the prototyping, the drafting. Okay, I have no idea what that said. I'm trying to cover this in case it's someone says a slur. For the chat in case. But that's my take on it. Again, like it's not, it's always contentious and like you can disagree. I agree that AI is here to stay, and I agree that like next generation will see it as natural because they already are seeing it as natural. Like my little sister sees it natural. My little brother is seeing it as natural. Like my little sister uses it as like a chat, like to chat with and like for Google. My little brother like sees it as like, oh, all my friends are using it. We use it for studying. We use it for references. Like right. So that's all true. But again, like as like a hobby, as someone who's like hobbies and like yeah, hobbies are affected by AI, the fact that people do use it for results actively like hurts the hobbies that I think are valuable for like creation and imagination and innovation and all that. So again, like it's obviously a losing fight just because in the end, like it's not like the hobbyists aren't going to be the people that prevent or like maintain anything. It's going to be the corporations that end up having the final say. So I guess if the point of saying that we should focus less on the process and more on the result is the point of like to like cope with it better or to like rationalize it better, we should be taking that approach. I can somewhat agree with that idea, but I think ultimately like because it's mostly a hobby and because it is mostly like taking jobs, and corporations aren't using it for like quality purposes, they aren't using it for um, real creation purposes. Like corporations are using it purely for cost saving, and cost saving for corporations to me is like wage theft and like intellectual theft. So again, in my opinion, it's like we should focus on the process more, because in the process of AI like generation, we lose all that work. We lose all that like yeah, I mean we just lose all that work. Like who like when AI is when we ignore the process and focus more on results, we're only benefiting corporations who are trying to put more money into their pockets. and these pockets aren't really generating anything for society, right? They're just generating ego for the shareholders, for the CEOs, for the execs. Like this is not money or it's not money that goes back into the economy or into useful projects. It is not inspiration that is being generated from a human place. It's just people trying to steal stuff. Does that mean if I learn to draw by looking at artists, do I steal? It makes no sense. That's the argument against AI, isn't it? Um, Not really. So there's a so when Range talks about portrait tracers, like you can say like okay, like yes, if you want to be redundant about the discussion, then you can say that like because like everyone learns how to draw in a different way, right? Like you can say that you can learn how to draw by tracing, and that is something that people like that. If you learn how to draw by tracing, did you technically steal? Maybe in a sense, but to me, the act of stealing is when you post like so. For example, if I traced like this art right now, like this six armed lady, if I were to trace that at home for practice, and it never saw the light of day, like I never posted it anywhere, I never showed a friend, I just traced it for my own artistic improvement. That to me is not stealing. That's practice, right? And in the far, far future, if I ever draw a six armed lady, then if you're again being redundant, you could argue that I had stolen this girl for practice, but that's obviously not like an actual good faith argument, right? Because I had traced that girl to learn how to do the lines, how to understand the curves, how to understand like the proportions. AI isn't tracing? No, no, no. But I'm saying I'm explaining the idea of like tracing, like because for artists, like if you ignore AI for a moment, like for artists, like the like what we were talking about earlier is that like tracing. So like the way we treat AI artists is the way we treated tracers in the past, right? So that's why I'm saying like that's why I'm comparing the two. But so like let's go into like let's get ahead to the part where I'm learning off of a like off of looking at artists, right? The difference to me is that like if I look at other artists for inspiration and for learning, and then I draw something from my own memory, like yes, my style, my lines, my overall vibe might be heavily, heavily, heavily inspired by that artist. Like if I learned how to draw women from like I don't know if you know the series, but like from like Takashi, the Fate Grand the Fate series artist who draws all the Artoria Saber faces. Like if I were to learn how to draw women from just Artoria face or Saber face, then and then like I drew a woman like not Rise of Fate universe. Like I drew like fan art of Freerin and then I make Freerin look like Artoria. Like you could like that is like that's the point where like I'm assuming you are at where like it you could pretend with a bad faith argument that I am stealing from that artist because all of my art looks like their art. But to me that's different because me learning from like somebody that I think and have a lot of respect for is different because that is my effort. Like I was a fan of that art. I learned that art, and my art will stylistically just be somewhat slightly different than the Saber artist's art because I'm either less skilled than them on certain like chin, face, hair details, or the way I draw them are slightly different just because of mechanical differences. The difference with AI for me is that when I draw, like when you know that I drew it, when you know that like a human drew it, you have the implication. Yeah, I mean, it again, like I'm trying to explain my point of view, right? So like for me, the inherent difference is that I like when I see something that someone a human draw or a human drew, there's a lot of like I can look at it and then I can make interpretations on like okay, like I can see that this area looks heavily detailed. This area looks really really good. Like I can see the parts and I can imagine and put my own interpretation on what the person as an artist focused on. I can see like their portfolio and understand what they're a fan of. I can make assumptions on like what they are, or like who they are as a person, or like what their beliefs are, right? So like this is for writing, right? When you read a novel that's not by AI, obviously like for most like you can see how much care they put into certain paragraphs, how much focus they put on a character, how much like how they view descriptions and all this. Like it's just a lot of like for me again as like a consumer or as like someone who wants to learn how to write or draw. It's all about like the process of like I'm trying to see where their journey, like how did they come to this final product? How did they do all this? How did they learn their skills? How did they do this and that? And so the difference with AI is that AI itself, AI doesn't care about the process. It never will that the artists put in. AI takes a bunch of data and then it'll produce that data, and then a human will tell them whether or not that output was correct or not. And then this AI tune, will naturally tune their output towards what they think the human wants, right? Like that's the entire thing with ChatGPT right now with the language, where a lot of the struggle at the moment is making ChatGPT sound more human, and then the main struggle is like, do we make it sound like, or I guess like the idea of like, you know how like a lot of ChatGPT prompts are like, but make it sound like Peter Griffin, make it sound like this TV character, make it sound like this like stereotype, right? These are all things that a human is telling them to do, and you don't know and then you're just getting a result and a product. You don't know anything about the training. You don't know anything about where like the references that the AI is pulling from. You can't even make assumptions about it because you understand that the AI is being trained off of an obscenely large amount of data. Is the way I see it. Like that's the reason why like I make a distinction between using AI as a reference and a research material or like prototyping versus using AI for a final product. Because if I were to ask AI, like again, I make this statement a lot where like for me like if an artist is using AI, I don't mind if the AI is trained off of their art. Like the artist is using their own art as a reference, and then the product is either like the result from the AI prompt is either being used for the artist as a reference, or if they're selling it, the buyer has full acknowledgement and full knowledge that it is AI generated art. AI is different to a different, helps a different standard than human creators because for a vast majority of human creators, the only thing we care about is what they produce. Not, I mean, yes, you are correct in the sense that this is a very like standards are always going to be subjective because obviously my standard, like I don't only care about what they produce. If I find something that I love, then I will get really interested in the process and understanding the background and trying to understand their mindset, right? Like for example, like something like super generic, like with like Da Vinci. Like obviously Da Vinci's he produced a lot of great art. He and everyone like admires the result, but the people that get really into the art that Da Vinci produced will go into like learning his history. Like why was he inspired? Like specifically, why was Da Vinci as an artist inspired to create the Mona Lisa? Right. If AI produced a beautiful piece of art, I don't I can never have that question. I can never go, what inspired the AI to produce this art? And that's the main difference. And again, with deep dive in the process of being a love, it's not saying it's equal. It's not equal to saying this is not equal to saying if this is not thing is stealing. I mean, okay, the stealing aspect. So again, I think I'm assuming you mean like the art itself is being. So like I guess there's like two aspects of stealing. I understand. Yeah, I mean, I think I get your point, but I guess for me it's more important to understand what aspect of stealing you're talking about. Because for me, there's two aspects of stealing, right? So there's obviously the wage aspect of stealing, where I mentioned earlier where AI is naturally stealing wages from like writers, artists, and other like things that are easily stolen or easily generated from AI, right? So there's that stealing. So I think for me, I think that's like a very clear like, yeah, this is just outright theft. But I guess I don't really blame anyone for saying, or okay, yeah. Let me just take that back. I think that is just outright stealing, right? But if you're talking about the creative stealing, where like you're talking about just like Twitter artists or like AI artists, AI writers, I think for me that's stealing because inherently all of the data that they were trained on wasn't harvested in an ethical manner. And this isn't really on the fault. To be clear, this is not on the fault of like the people that are using the AI for like memes and fan art. So if you as a person, if you were to go on ChatGPT and make like a funny cat video of like those like fat cat wizards or like a cat doing like fantastical things, and you posted it as a meme, to me that's not stealing, right? Like meme generation, joke generation, like that to me is fine to an extent. Stealing for me with AI in the context of like AI artists, AI writers, is when it's somebody who is using like these standard AI things and then making a profit or making some like clout from it. So like there's a recent news about a Japanese light novel contest where the top rated person was um was using AI for writing. And obviously that's an entire different can of worms of like the quality of light novels and like their audiences and how much they're paying attention. But to me, that light novel AI writer, um, to me, that person stole all their work because they took a tool that was trained off of data that they did not put in, that data that was inherently stolen from a lot of copyrighted and protected databases, and then they output something to sell. So that to me is the theft. When someone like an AI artist posts like spams photos of like fan art over and over again of a popular series and gets a massive following and then gets verified like Twitter Blue and then makes a Patreon to like get more money subscriptions to keep producing AI art, that to me is theft. Because fan art inherently, like fan art they get paid for should be drawn by the data as okay, yeah, so stolen data. So there's an entire like can of worms to unpack where things or where advancements in technology and society are built off the backs of like unethical, stolen, like things that like we can like virtue signal and say it was bad to do. And that to me is what AI is because the damage has already been done, right? Like we cannot go back in time and deny OpenAI, ChatGPT, Microsoft, Elon Musk from harvesting data that they legally had no right, ethically had no right to harvest. And after this all happened, like nowadays, all these looked at, learned from. No, I think it is. I think it is stolen because you have to think of it from the aspect of a corporation. Corporations are held to different rules than like an individual is. So for example, like with recruiting and interviewing in this day and age, recruiters like especially in the EU, there's like something called what was it called? Like some EU law forces companies look at low when I look at learn from stolen data, it's okay. Well, okay, again, like yes, as an individual, yes, it's okay. But AI is not an individual, right? That's the main thing. Like the lack of the lack of ethics and lack of morals and lack of like whatever like legality isn't like it's applied to AI specifically because AI is not an individual. AI was not created by an individual, or like the AI that we're talking about is not created by an individual. Like obviously Nero, Vidal, like that pair of people, that's created by an individual, but that's inherently not the AI we're talking about. We're talking about large corporations, OpenAI, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever the other ones are. Those are not. That's not you. That will never be you. You looking at art and learning. You reading books and stealing, quote unquote, stealing passages that you thought were cool. You like doing all this stuff. That is a you thing. You're an individual doing that. When a corporation, like when a corporation like pulls up and goes, okay, I'm going to like make a backroom deal with Facebook to collect trillions of photos without my user's permission and acknowledgement of it to feed my AI with the express goal of creating like something that can do stuff without the need for human effort. That is totally different. That's why to me it's theft. Because in the end, like this isn't someone who taught themselves something off something. This isn't an individual's project. But obviously an individual, like again, entirely different bag of worms. Where it's like if it's like someone trying to build their own AI model and they go on Twitter and start stealing things or like start picking out photos individually and then making an AI artist that then prints out stuff to sell. Like that, like it again. If your point was like, oh, I created a learning language model on the power level of ChatGPT, which is literally impossible at the moment. Like that's a totally different conversation. And I think that is a more interesting conversation because then I think your point of like, did I steal by teaching like if I go like if I'm a coder, I go on to Twitter, I start like right click save imaging, like thousands of photos, and then I feed it to my AI that I developed myself, and I'm trying to teach it how to draw something by myself, and then I make it set up to all this. That is actually potentially theft because depending on if I use it for commercial use. That's the reason why like commercial licenses is a thing. Anti-corporation, anti-corporation. Is that your reasoning? I guess for the stance of AI, yeah, I am anti-corporation, just because like yeah, I mean yeah, I guess that's the main thing. Because to me, AI is a corporation tool, is a capitalist tool, and corporations are beholden to different laws and ethics than an individual is. I guess is the point is like my stance on that. So saying that it being anti-corporation or the title and the label of being anti-corporation is me being of the opinion that corporations should be held to different rules, then yeah, I like if that's your equivalence, then I can't really deny it. Does it imply you're anti-corp? I mean, it might not imply it, but like I think if you wanted to make that argument, then I don't really have a counterpoint to it. Yeah, because again, like I think legally, yes, they are. Like, yeah, obviously they're legally held to different standards. They have different rules than us, and I definitely think that's true. But I think there are many viewpoints where people think that corporations should have more flexible rights because they have like a more like they support capitalism more and they have like a more positive view towards capitalism. Nothing wrong with being anti-corp. Oh, I know. Don't argue one with another. Just feel understand you and see your basic reasoning. I mean, again, like I'm more speaking from like a hobbyist standpoint. Like you're saying, okay, so like going back to your original point that AI trained off of mass data is not stolen. So again, as an individual doing it is totally different, right? That's I think let's make that point number one. A lot of people are in the way to argue if I understand. Maybe it's because of the anti-corp stance. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a more like or a different way to tackle or yeah tackle the conversation. So like so again like let's if we go from the stance of like oh is it stealing is it not stealing. So again, stance number one is like or like again so like I guess like the big framework is that I call it stealing because AI is a corporation or an entity created by a corporation. So therefore, um, inherently, monetization and profit are like important. I guess like generate or value generators for AI in this current stance, right? And when it comes to like generating profit, when it comes to generating profit, essentially, like the goal of the corporation for these corporations will always be profit. I know that like Sam Altman, I think is his last name. Like this guy might pretend that this is a non-profit. Um, like he might pretend that OpenAI is non-profit. He might pretend that they're getting no profit, but we all know that that's just there for like hype and like corporate speak. Like you, if someone unironically thinks that Sam Altman is creating OpenAI for the benefit of everyone and not just his own pocket or someone's pocket, I think that person is giving that guy way too much credit. Like period. So when it comes to things about like profit and like monetary value, monetary gain, we're automatically going into the realm of stuff like patent and copyright and intellectual property. So when it's an individual learning off someone's style, is being inspired, is trying to learn how to do art in general, they are already not like that by itself. All that learning process, all that hobbyism is not profit related. It's like a hobby related thing. Profit drives human development. Like industrial revolution is tragic for those sitting by the sawing machines. Yeah, again, I get that. That's why I was don't spend 30% of our budget on clothes anymore. Yeah, again, I get that. That's why I was saying. That's why I mentioned way earlier that the damage is already long done, and that's why you like the point you made a lot earlier about the younger generation having it be a norm. That is objectively true. So I call it theft because we're still in the era of history where it is easily considered theft. And even retroactively speaking, like when it comes to certain topics, oh, it's impossible for me to clear. Like retroactively speaking, stuff like the Industrial Revolution, like Rockefeller, the other big people, like the people that had to be maybe I don't think actually no Rockefeller's not a part of the Industrial Revolution, but essentially like these like gigantic advancements. Like I guess what's better to put this? Like yes, I agree. It's like unethical practices and immoral things are very deeply very deeply and inherently connected to human advancement or like creative technological industrial advancement. I think that's not something that you can realistically like deny. But even when we talk about industrial revolution, like industrial revolution was built on the backs of capitalism and built on the back of doing things that are even retrospectively analyzing are things that were unethical and probably evil in some way. Like whether it's making children work the mines for coal, whether it's abusing minorities, like because back then, like industrial revolution, right? Like Europeans were minorities, like abusing like the European minorities to get cheap wages, whether it was like just cheating out people that brought you the raw produce to like do these things, whether it was like ruining the lives of people downstream because you're pumping waste or damming the rivers to get hydropower, right? Like that, all of that stuff is still objectively theft. So just because the result is in your eyes positive doesn't mean that the process of getting there involved things like theft, involved unethical practices, involved these bad things. Like, yes, obviously, humanity, maybe America specifically, is in a way better space because of the Industrial Revolution, because of these cutthroat practices. It doesn't mean that we can't look back and be like, yeah, that was a fucked up thing. That was bad to do. But like about AI, getting to see people discuss stuff like that, yeah. And Mythos is like like this is like by far like the most respectful AI discussion I've had with someone who does support AI. Usually you get called like so many names for being anti AI. So yeah, I really respect the conversation. And I think there are a lot of people that are very mature when talking about AI, like to be very clear, but just because of the online space, it's like not that common. Because obviously, like anti like AI, like okay, I said AI supporters, anti AI supporters are literally just as bad most of the time, right? With like being like very inflammatory and rage baity with the topic. So hashtag me. Yeah, because in the end, I was even telling Range Hog this myth rolls yesterday. Like I have unironically been like questioning myself on whether or not I should be using AI to like write a book just to get published because I have like a really I can skim and like process feedback really quickly in like a word format. So if I want to become a writer, like I could unironically like I could probably finish a book in 3 days, like straight up, if I use AI to write a book. And that, and to me, like that, again, like to me, I would feel like I'm stealing if I were to do that. But from a capitalistic stance and from like a pure profit and fame and um, whatever the word is, like that, like from that stance, like using AI is is objectively correct. If I'm going for profit, going for fame, going for clout, going for like product, and um, if I'm going for like raw product value. But while it may be objectively correct for me to utilize ChatGPT or some better form of AI tool to write a book to publish, while it might be objectively correct from like a from that stance, for me, like ethically, morally speaking, that would be like a major blow to my ego and to my sanity, right? Because knowing that I'm someone who cares and thinks that's stealing, I would still attribute that to stealing because I'm not. It's not me who produced the words on the paper. I may have edited it. I may have done this other stuff, but inherently, like it was someone like some no-name author that I'll never know about. Were the ones who provided the words that were referenced. Listening to a worst source from Reddit on YouTube a few weeks ago. 5 time stories is a fun, cool thing, but you started to see all the patterns of writing. Once you started to notice, if all fell apart and turned to stop immediately. Yeah, and I was mentioning earlier, like that Japanese light novel contest thing. Sorry, why did that mob automatically start spinning? Whatever. But that like Japanese like there are a lot of genres. Like I would say Reddit stories are part of it that are unironically like good enough for slop. So like isekai, reincarnation stories, cultivation stories, um, these like yo bro, this totally happened to me stories. Like these are all things that could be easily AI generated with like and because of the audience that consumes this content, you could easily get away with it. And also like creatives have very little reason to even engage with those stories and like produce them because they are so like anecdotal and nonsensical for the most part. And ironically enough, like I think like an extension of your argument about whether or not it's truly theft, like I think there's a funny stance of like because the beauty of AI is that in the end, like it is an unholy amalgamation of like a bunch of other things. Like again, you'll never know who made these things or the references or the backstory for a lot of these things, but AI can still produce like very inspiring work because their reference and their database was simply that good. If that makes sense. And writing is bad, or a great way for bad writers to be mediocre. If you want to be great, then best you can ask it to correct your spelling, and that's valuable. I agree, but that's a different type of AI at that point, right? Like we've had spell check, um, like we've had spell check, and to be clear, like the AI I'm talking about is like generative AI, because I think there's a like a big problem with the buzzword AI right now, where AI is being used as a blanket term for a lot of things that are objectively good, ethically good, whatever, just like whatever. Like for example, like medical research, um, is like the big one where it's like you taught AI to like identify spots. That's not generative AI, right? AI that like analyzes and consolidates and summarizes things for you. Generative AI does like include that, but that sort of thing, like it doesn't have to be generative AI, right? It could be like a analysis AI, like an algorithmic AI, right? Like all those like videos, like or for example like Vidal. I guess Vidal is generative AI, but I guess like Code Bullet, that guy who like makes videos about writing AI to like learn how to beat games and stuff. That is also not generative AI or what ChatGPT and OpenAI are doing. So so yeah, like I think like obviously there is good AI, but people have been reducing it down. Like people have been conflating generative AI with like other versions of AI a lot, and so it gets a lot of it gets lost in the sauce, I think, which is its own can of worms. That's problematic, but you can't really avoid that. But I think there's like a what I was gonna say earlier was like I think there's a funny point of what you're talking about with theft earlier. So if I were to read some slop AI generated novel, just like the old adage of like infinite monkeys slamming on a keyboard will eventually generate the Odyssey or whatever like Shakespearean plays, right? Like at some point, the AI will have made something profound, will have said something profound. So if I, as a writer, get inspired from that, am I transitively stealing because of that? If I were to then put that into my novel, like if I'm in the middle of writing a novel and doing all that, I think what I'm arguing is that once you start to lean on slot, you start producing great works, AI, triple game, or triple A gaming companies to lean on for writing, and now they're going bankrupt. Yeah, I think in the end, like when we say stealing, like when Rainchog and I like talk about stealing and stuff, that's ultimately what we're worried about. Like that's like the wage theft and creative theft that we're talking about. And I think like that's the significantly more important concern of of AI being like more popular with corporations because the ultimate uh the ultimate endpoint for like all of this AI usage unfortunately ends up being like a lot of mediocre work that exists because these corporations are like taking out from other things. And then again, because AI ends up like bleeding over into not just monetary value, but like fame and clout and like create like even creative value. Because I said this yesterday, I think. I don't know if I'll say in the exact same wording range hog, but there's like I know there's a lot of like it bleeds over to ego because not saying that every artist is like this, but I know a non-zero amount of artists who like chasing novel concepts, and they always have the skill to create these novel concepts, but they obviously need time to draw, render, like fix these novel process or novel ideas. But the simultaneous beauty and sin of AI is that someone random might think of that exact same novel idea, like a crack ship or like some random unhinged idea. They'll then like that person might put that into Grok, and then Grok will produce, and then like that person who puts in the Grok will give them references for them to base the image off of. And let's say that this artist in particular is known for this unhinged idea, like making these unhinged ideas into reality. And um, this fan of like their jokes does the Grok thing, produces something that the artist is working on, and it's like obviously like a pale imitation to what the artist would have done. But the issue is that like in the end, I don't know if you get shouting from outside. Oh yeah, the issue is that like while it's not the artist doing it, there is like a parody of the artist's product now out there, and the artist will probably see that product. And then because in my hypothetical, this artist is an ego-driven artist, they now see that their idea has been stolen from them, and emotionally speaking, that's like a huge, that's like really like disheartening, and like frankly insulting probably to that artist. And so then now this artist will be more incentivized to not post online, maybe even take down all their art on Twitter or on Blue Sky, wherever they put it. And they might never be seen again. So now all their unhinged ideas, one, because they were an ego-driven person, they might not even draw anymore. So we lose all of that potential creativity, or they alternatively keep it to themselves, which is the same as them not posting anywhere. So yeah, because you never know when like that person could have been not maybe not responsible, but maybe could have been like the inspiration for another artist that could have been like a big name in like the gaming industry or other things. But yeah, that's like another version of theft that might be important because like again, like that Grok user might have stolen the idea from the original artist who was producing it, and then that's like it's creative theft at that point, which is like again messed up because the actual artist would have had to draw, render, create, spend like a month or two making this idea, versus this Grok guy who was just like, oh, well, I have an idea. Let me just post it in 20 seconds, and then that month of work is gone. And then obviously the downstream issues are massive, or downstream impact is massive. And yeah, speaking of AI writing, there's like so many fake websites out there right now of people that are just like fake, or like of people that are just using AI to summarize like popular gotcha games for ad revenue. We saw it for CZN, where like CZN when Chizuru came out, some random slop character guide website was like talking as if Chizuru was like a speed based character from E7. And obviously in CZN, like there's no speed stat. So it's like they're just talking out of their ass. And Suchi yesterday was watching a character review or like a character summary of the Enfield characters, and the guy's video that we are watching had like a bunch of ChatGPT outputs. Like the ChatGPT output was even like suggesting lore details for the character, and they just like taking a screenshot and copy pasted it onto the editing software, and I was like, wow, wow, incredible. And the worst part was like ChatGPT wasn't even like making like an actual like observation of the lore and the character kit. It was just straight copy pasting it from the wiki itself. And to be fair, like that's like the least insidious use of AI for like a small channel to use it to streamline their research. It was really funny to see when someone like can't be bothered to like go to the wiki that's available and copy paste it themselves. And I have a feeling that a lot of gacha creators are going to start doing that. Oh, excuse me. Where's this last chest? Slop. This game's definitely my guilty pleasure gotcha. Yeah, figure out if there's Oh, I never checked my formation. Oops. What the heck? This lady in? Titania. Oh, the last thing I was thinking about was voice acting. I was like trying to figure out what the last thing I was trying to figure out was. It was fucking voice acting. Me talking about Discord instead of this project. Oh, flipper. Oh, flipper. So funny. Oh, link text is a moderation setting. Interesting. Excuse me. Da-da. Alright, I am going to end stream. Thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate the discussions and all that. If anyone's lurking, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye bye.